Welcome to the Dogger Pass podcast. I'm your host, Dan Tom, at Dan Tom MMA, analyst whose work you can find everywhere along the way on the internet. But on this here program, the Dogger Pass podcast, we break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today, tonight. Whenever you're listening to this, hopefully it's for the fight. We'll be breaking down UFC 323, last pay-per-view of the pay-per-view era, second to last show of the year. It's a big one. It's one I'm excited for. And I know my co-host is excited for too. So let's bring him to you. We got the man at the MadLabMMA.com, at MadLab at MMA. What's up, Mike?
What's up, dude? Missed you. Haven't talked to you a couple days over the holidays and stuff like that. I know we chit-chatted a little bit before Thanksgiving, but happy to be back. Monster card, couple cards left on the year. Got to make the best of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Looking forward to the break, but also I understand that crunch time, as far as things go, winding down and this and that. So everybody wants to finish the year strong. I know I won't, but I'm actually kind of excited, Mike, to tab up totals as I pay off a bet to you before I kick it to you, sir. But I'm actually excited, despite having another massive losing year official unit wise, which is all that matters to most people at the end of the day, which is fine. I think we've done a pretty good job here. I know I've been over 80% on main events since this show. You're not far behind me, but you've been kicking ass, Mike, where it matters. As I pour this shot here, we another head to head. We tend to go like two or three wins in a. So this time it's not old Forrester, not old Sean Connery. This is a Woodford Reserve.
That's good stuff.
It's good. It's not the best. It's definitely not super cheap stuff or anything either. But ritual wise, we talked about some rituals, Mike. I believe you might have shared. Sometimes you'll, on a big night, if you're still hungry or something, you might treat yourself to the old In-N-Out burger. Or, you give yourself a nice little treat. Mine, it was Woodford. I would drink Woodford. Woodford is for winners, which means Dan Tom has not been drinking a lot of Woodford. This bottle is still very full, as you guys can tell, right? Whereas the other stuff I'm out of, clearly. So that says a lot on multiple fronts. But neither here nor there. We're not going to recap that last card that was 2 weeks ago now in Qatar. I actually had good picks and everything on that. I didn't do an official slate, but I think I came out literally $6 short. So it was basically a break-even night. But you, sir, as I cheers to you, and in a classic Dan Tom fashion, Alex Perez was looking good, and he was proving me right until he wasn't. But that's the game, and I'm a buy-head man. He's gotten much better, and he's done you well multiple times now. So cheers, buddy.
Cheers, brother. Good health.
But our best bet, the first time we did that format, though, I will say, to parlay forward, came through. I believe you guys like that and have been saying that in the comments. Thank you very much. Hit the like button, subscribe. Mail Media Network's got a lot of good stuff. But we took your guys' advice, and Mike, we hit our first best bet, Arman Tsarukyan inside the distance in the main event. And I know that capped off a really good night for you. You've been like the gif of the guy on fire. That's what I want to tweet out what Mike is, because football, boxing, the slates you were hitting, man. And I know you account for your losses too. It's not all gold, but dude, there's no way you can't look at all the stuff you've been hitting lately and not being impressed, bro. It's been insane. That we on a delay? Did you get that, Mike?
Yeah, man. I lost you a little bit over there. I'm breaking up a little bit, but yeah, man, we had a good. No, it's not you. It's me. It's the connection. We had a good week, man. We had a good week, and the thing with boxing, we mixed some boxing in with the UFC. We hit Almabayev 3 or decision. We hit a boxing parlay with Jesse Bam Rodriguez by knockout, and Gary Bilal over 2.5. We hit another boxing parlay -103 oral by. And Mason in boxing. We hit Haney by decision. Benavidez round 7 through 12. He knocked him out right in the beginning of the 7th round. The only one we lost was Almacan +3.5. So we had a really, really good night. With that said, before we jump in, I just want to roll over a promo that we're doing. This week, obviously, you got football in full swing. You have the UFC. We have boxing, which we do. We're running a promo this week, $14.99. You get soup to nuts. You get the entire UFC 323, all the content you can absorb. We got boxing with audio breakdowns, Fight Brain technology, blueprint for that. We have 7 people doing NFL, NCAA. So for $14.99 and all that, and if you stay a member with us, we have probably the sickest New Year special for members only that we're going to be doing. That's going to boil down to like less than $1 a day. So if you get in, we run that special and you're a member, you'll take advantage of that offer. But I mean, for $14.99, the amount of content you're going to get just from MMA alone is going to be so worth it. So go to the madlabmma.com. There's no promo code. You just click on the image on the site. It'll bring you right to the page, and you'll be good to go.
And also, low key, folks, he forgot to mention this, but if Mad Lab can get enough subscribers from the Dogger Pass podcast, he said he will do a show wearing nothing but being draped in the Canadian flag. So I just want to put that out there, to incentivize people. But seriously, seriously, folks, seriously,
I'll wear a thong and a Nacho Libre mask.
Seriously, though, folks, I don't have any a business or anything to gain from it. So hopefully, you guys can, I know we do a show together and are friends, but you take it for what it's worth, genuinely. A lot of people want to finish the year strong and whatnot. And dude, if I was, signing up for anything or anything like that, it'd be my guy Mad Labs over here. And part of the reason is because you see this so much in the space too, where, Mike doesn't say it too much. He's a real, short spoken guy. He's not, he's not out there like me fucking pleading my case on, trying not to get murdered on these streets. But no, he says that, it's the everyman's kind of channel and whatnot. And I think that a lot of people don't realize what that is, Mike, because you see all these people out there where it's like, oh, I hit this. It's like, yeah, it's because you're putting a ridiculous amount of bets out there. You're only claiming your victories. And even if you're still ending up profitable, who has the bankroll to follow all those, especially at the minus 300s or minus 350s people are giving out? So when he says, the working man's people in the working man's slate, like you look at it, he's not throwing crazy slates out there. Like he's hitting crazy, but it's not like he's actually throwing crazy slates out there. So I just wanted to give you a genuine shout out there, Mike.
I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that are volume bettors, and I don't like to say that we're a company of like a betting company, because we're not. We're a community. You know what I mean? Like I know a lot of people say they're a community, but they're not. They go into a Discord, they give you 50 bets to play, and it's like, how do you keep up? If you're married, you got kids, you got a job, like we're like a blue collar working man's company where we give you your slate, we give you all the content you need, whether it's DFS or whether it's wagering. We have live streams, and like we kind of do it together, which is the cool thing. So come check it out. Like I said, the madlabmma.com. I hope you all win money, but I hope you win money with us.
Well, let's hope we all win some money. And again, you've been on fire, Mike, and even, as bad as I've been, again, I've been going like 3 out of the last 4. I've went like 10-4 on picks or something. And I just keep firing on the stuff that, I'm not getting right. So if you're, fading me, so perhaps you can make some money there too. So, make some money following Mike. You can fade me. Either way, let's make some money and let's get to UFC 323. Really excited for this one. Headline, in my mind, it's headlined by Pantoja, but of course it's headlined by a rematch, another title rematch. Who's been calling that, folks? Huh? And that booking trend, crazy. Anyways, we've got Merab Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan too. Merab Dvalishvili, the sitting champ, minus 415. Comeback on Petr Yan plus 315. This is a little tighter line here, which I think is probably more down to earth, to be honest. Over 4.5, minus 400, under 4.5, plus 315. They're almost asking you to be contrarian here. It is a rematch, so I'm going to hit you with the rematch stats like I hit you with the Southpaw stats and the Apex stats, which I still don't really hear on other shows. So at least you're getting that here too. Another unique feature of the program, I guess. But yeah, Merab is 1-0 in rematches against Sean O'Malley. Petr Yan is 1-1. The rematch he did win, which was a fight that he arguably won the first fight around 2 back in ACB, now titled ACA, with all those Russian killers over there. That was against Magomed Magomedov, who again arguably beat Patchy Mix. Not that Patchy Mix has aged well, but just for perspective, for more casual fans, in case that name sounds familiar, he's been over in the Bellators of the side of the world when he does come here. But Petr Yan faced him, and he's relevant because he was relevant in both the Merab and Sterling, where the other rematch comes in, where he lost. And again, you can argue that Yan won that rematch. And I'm somebody who was a 10-8 supporter of Aljamain in round 2 there. But nonetheless, if you scored rounds 1, 4, and 5 for Petr Yan, you realize that, again, it's a 1-1 that could easily be 2-0. So stats aren't everything, folks. Wanted to provide some context there. But yeah, Magomedov, how he applies to Merab, not so much as the back taker, right? But he is a Sambo style wrestler, which is Merab Dvalishvili as well. I was at that fight live, Mike. It was a fun experience. I want to shout out to listener of the program here, Martin, who I attended that show with, thanks to him. And we got I don't usually drink to get drunk or anything, Mike. Those days are behind me, you know, even in my 30s, they were behind me. And I got drunk at this show, Mike. It was funny, you know, Jonathan Martinez fought that night, and there was just a bunch of like Russians and Georgians in the audience, right? And so everybody was rooting against Martinez, and you know, Dan Tom is the world's only Jonathan Martinez fan. So I'm the only one in the audience going, Martinez, and people were like, shut up, he sucks. And I'm like, Martinez. And it was kind of funny that we didn't get jumped in hindsight, you know, because we were actually in the Georgian section too. So, you know, me and my buddy had Petr Yan tickets, and we're like, I guess we're rooting for Merab now. And I was so blasted, and I think Martinez got me profit that night. I didn't care, you know, I was just enjoying the show. But realistically, looking back, Mike, you know, we talked about this, and you know, not to be a spoiler, but you know, we both might have veered different ways from this, which is totally fine. But a dynamic I think we both agree on as far as a variable X, how much you want to put in that variable X is up to you, is injury talk. And me and Mike are, you know, even though we'll reference it, we're not like, baited on every word and, you know, this and that. Like we've been around long enough where we realize, you know, fighters are going to say certain things and everybody's not going to come in 100%. You can't get lost in speculation city. But like when we made our case for Poatan, speaking of rematches, title rematches, when we made our case for Poatan versus Ankalaev 2, there was injury talk, right? And similar to Yan, it was the right hand. And even though the right hand is not typically the lead hand, even though Jan's a switcher, it can affect your game when just one hand is off, right? And Mike's spoken about this from a boxing perspective. But how much validity do you want to throw into it? Now, when I went back to watch the fight, I'm going to throw to Mike here to see what he saw when he went back. But when I went back to watch the fight, in summation, I could count the amount of right hands he threw on one hand, the quality ones. There were some BS feints that he clearly wasn't comfortable with, and he was fighting because of that. He was fighting orthodox way more, using things like leg kicks way more. And what that changed more importantly in the grappling is the grip fighting. When I write about Petr Yan, I write about his grip fighting. It's such a huge part of his game. And if you look at it, it's actually kind of impressive that even though he lost, that he stuffed so many takedowns from Merab, especially one-handed, and was able to get the separations and swim out. You know, it's really tough. It's much easier when you can, even a guy like Corey Sandhagen didn't have good wrestling. Corey Sandhagen was really well trained in that fight, which we can talk about further. But to say that he knew just how to fight grips and was able to get that separation, even a guy like Corey Sandhagen, Yan was kind of having to do everything the hard way, step by step, because he really couldn't grip much at all. And even from a standing position, he does like hand traps. He's always kind of trying to control one hand. Grip fighting is so essential. So you lose one hand. It's like, oh, well, why can't you grip with your left hand as I'm talking about it here? Well, it's not as easy. And you guys are noticing live. Why is Dan rocking a thumb? Yeah, this was my good hand. But of course, my first week back at jiu-jitsu all year, of course, I heard it literally just posting down on the floor, like not even falling, like posting down for a drill to do a guard sweep. It was, yeah, I wonder why I've been a purple belt for 13 years and I complain about luck. Neither here nor there. I only bring this up to point out that this in conjunction with like a bad wrist and some other joint issues, I'm falling apart, okay, folks? But the point is, even with just one hand messed up, it really debilitates you, man. And I am a very grip-heavy grappler. And Mike, not that I'm fucking great and I wouldn't be getting smashed, especially with the people in the ranks that I go with. But boy, was I really just felt helpless because I know my level. And I was even having trouble staying safe and doing a lot of the things I want, because when you can't grip, again, hand fighting is the secret to all martial arts, whether we're talking about striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and everything in between. It is the unsung hero. So I just say all that to say that if something was wrong with his hand, then perhaps we see a different fight. Now, does that mean he wins? No. And we'll make the Merab case here. But as I throw it to you, Mike, I will say that even immediately after in that Song Yadong fight against a power puncher like Song Yadong, Petr Yan threw more committed right hands in that first round than he did through all 5 rounds in the Merab fight. And I will say that he was not as down or as shot as the commentators were saying, but the commentators say these things and get hooked onto a narrative as Joe Rogan and now DC, especially when they're together, do. And then you just hear people repeat it and repeat it. And I don't know, man. I'm not saying Jan's going to win, but I am going to pick him here, man. I played the points handicap and was going to pick Merab and kind of do the same thing with the Sandhagen fight, Mike. But I'm curious what you saw rewatching. But when I rewatched it, it reaffirmed a lot of things and swung me enough to where I'm picking Yan here, man. Please correct my course here.
Yeah, no, there's really not much to correct. I mean, we talked on the phone after the holidays, and I said, I just have a very odd feeling about this fight. But I told you, I need to go back and I need to really digest it with nobody around and watch it a couple times. So, and I did. And the one thing I will say about Petr Yan, what makes him special, I mean, a lot of things make him special, but what makes him special is his ability to switch on and off. And why that's so nullifying to fighters is because when you think you have him figured it out, he'll switch stances. When you think you figured it out again, he'll switch stances. He has such a good ability to switch on and off, and that's what makes him special and kind of hard to pin down and figure out. During the fight, I did notice he wasn't switching. He was fighting a lot more orthodox, and he wasn't really switching on and off, which obviously that kind of makes him not pedestrian at that point, but it kind of makes him human. You know, where the things that Petr Yan does kind of special, the way he give you all these different looks. You know, so could have been the hand injury, absolutely, because you're not sitting back on a cocked hand, you know, but the issue I keep running into this fight with him is that, like, if you look at his losing streak when he started with Sterling and then he started losing, I was picking against him at that point, not because of his skill set, but because of his mindset. You know, he's the type of guy, he's almost got that Cody Garbrandt syndrome where when he starts getting had, he kind of starts unraveling. He starts going for broke. He loses his technical abilities. He tries to get things back. And Merab is the type of guy that will bring that into your nightmare very, very quick. When it's like he's on your hips and you can't shuck him off. You got a small, ample amount of time, a small amount of time to kind of get your offense off before he's back on your hips. There's also something to be said about why he wasn't cocking that hand and why he wasn't throwing so hard, because he knows if he's going to overshoot and he's going to overshoot that window, Merab's going to be on his hips, because when you're fighting a guy like Merab, you can't completely fully commit, because if you completely fully commit, you're going for a wash. So it could be that too. But the thing with Yan is, man, like if you look at his last 3 fights, he looks like he's back to his ways. He's looking like he's a more mature guy. Not as when he feels like put in a corner like a caged dog, he's got to try to get it back. He's fighting a lot more discipline, and he's showcasing his skill sets a lot more, I should say, at the right times. He's got the wrestling ability. He's got he eluded a lot of those takedowns in the first fight, even though he started to get kind of worn down at the end. We know he's got the punching ability. We know he's got the good body work. He's got the hand speed. And Merab is starting to little by little, even though we know what his bread and butter is, he doesn't have an issue with standing and trading with you. And he's not the guy you want to stand in a pocket and trade with, because Petr Yan will take advantage of that. And he obviously is the better striker. I just keep back to, how do you stop a guy like Merab? Like, he's not going to win a decision in this fight. Like there's not many people that are going to beat Merab in a 5-round decision, 25 minutes. You're not going to outwork him. So how does he win this fight? He's got to finish Merab in this fight to win. And I just keep going back to who is going to be running downhill. And I think it's going to be very, very competitive. I think, like I said, very odd feeling about this fight, and I think if any, Yan is definitely on the top of that list. But I just give me the guy that's running downhill. Give me the guy that's done it before. Give me the guy that has that to lean on no matter what. He's got that conditioning. He's got that cardio. He's got that pressure. He's got the wrestling. He's got all that to lean on. If he's not successful, it's just the optics of 20 takedowns, 30 takedowns, or I should say. But I will tell you, the guys, this. I am picking Merab. I'm going to pick Merab by decision here, but I will tell you this from a DraftKings perspective, and this is one of the things you get over at my site that a lot of people aren't talking about. The last time these guys fought, now their price tags in DraftKings is $6,700. That's a punt play for a guy like Petr Yan in a 5-round fight. And obviously, Merab is up in the higher 9K. These guys combined for 208 points the last time they fought. Now, yeah, sure, Merab got 160 of them, but at the end of the day, you're getting 2 fighters now at an average of 104. You know what I mean? So this isn't something that I advocate. I don't advocate in stacking fights. I'm not a fan of it, but there is an argument to be made that you can stack this fight in your DraftKings lineup. But I am going to go with Merab by decision.
Yeah, man, Merab's got to be a DraftKings player's dream, even though he's going to be top price, especially at this point of his career. Still worth it. Still worth it putting in your lineups for the takedowns alone, right, Mike? Even at a loss, I got to imagine Merab could accumulate you a lot of points hypothetically in a 5-rounder.
Both of them. Merab can cover his value on a loss. You know, I mean, it'd be tough to do, but I mean, he can come close. And you can go between 40, 50 from Yan, and then you're looking at, you know, like I said, 108 points. You split that between the two of them, and you got 2 fighters that just got 104 for you. So instead of taking some of these guys at 72, 7,800, where they can get knocked out and score 3, you're getting a punt play at 6,700, where the other fighter might win, but it's going to be a high-paced, high-pressure fight where these guys can kind of level the playing field out. So just something to consider.
I appreciate that. I know our audience appreciates the fantasy talk. We don't have it here in Vegas, so it's kind of out of my mind and slips my mind over the last many years for people following me. So I know that's definitely one of many weak points of mine. So I appreciate Mike weighing in on the DraftKings perspective. But Mike, yeah, I just will add on that, you know, and again, I don't disagree with any of that. And I think that is the analysis on the Merab side that you covered very well. And even you gave credit to, like, listen, I don't see anybody beating him by decision. Hard to see someone beating him. Both those statements are fair, and you are definitely not alone on both those statements. But I do like that you added the caveat, Petr Yan is on the top of the list for guys to do it. And I do believe that, because cardio-wise, I really don't think it's an issue. Like, I think it was more frustration, which Merab can do. And again, when it comes to the optics war, right? Merab is insane with it. Even though he's actually kind of anti-criteria, he's gotten much better, by the way, and he does some sneaky damage, and I do give him credit that in my analysis. But let's be honest, right? They don't, you know, my guy Brad T doesn't call him the Georgian snooze machine for nothing. A lot of people have similar nicknames, right? Not the most exciting guy, but to your point, as far as maybe you beat Merab, but is it going to be by decision being the hardest path? Again, totally defensible and agreeable, right? All that. And especially so since, and I've talked about this before, Mike, where I don't know if were you on the points handicap with Sandhagen, or was that just me? I know we both picked Merab clearly in that fight to win, but I did take a flyer on the points handicap. Did you do as well?
No.
And it was good that you didn't, because even if he didn't get 10-8'd, which was just a really weird sequence. I went back to watch that round 2 of Sandhagen Merab multiple times. And it's just like, it's just so weird, right? Like, it's just, again, it's just a typical thing where I've said before, like, you're going to do, perhaps I'm falling into that trap again, very much so, probably with my record, right? Where you watch Merab, and he's one of those fighters, we talked about it before, Mike. You almost don't want to watch tape on fighters like Merab when you're in the game we are in, because especially coming from the analyst eye, like we have, right? We're not just bettors. We actually understand the sport. We understand striking technique. You look at a guy like Merab and your eyes can almost mislead you, right? Because it's not pretty at all. It's not even always impressive, which sounds crazy to say against a top pound for pound fighter. But when we're talking about effective fighting, if effective fighting was like a mythical category, like pound for pound or whatever, Merab would be like number 1, right, Mike? As far as, again, not pretty, but if we're talking about effective fighting, is Merab like not number 1 when you go by that metric?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
100%.
So he absolutely deserves to be favored. He probably should be the pick here, as he was initially my pick, and I was just going to take a shot on the points handicap, because as we've been tracking here, you know, despite me getting crap for a lot of points handicaps, which I know Mike will defend because he's on them, and we have given you guys a lot of them just on our short term of the show. Not so coincidentally, Mike, the handicappers have since in recent months, they threw the castle walls up. We've noted this on the show, right? However, you're actually getting plus 195 for the points handicap here, which again, even if Petr Yan loses, he can cover it. But and there's other combinations you can get to this, but the basic minimum combination is if he loses, you want to hope that he loses by 48, 47 on 2 of the scorecards and can at least get 1 round on that third judge's card, even in a loss, and he covers. And back to that Sandhagen point, folks, it's a little dangerous because, to Mike's point, man, like, it's hard to win a decision against Merab. Like, Sandhagen, I feel like won round 4, just as, if not more convincingly than he won round 1, right? But only 2 of the 3 judges gave him round 1, I believe, and only 1 judge gave him round 4, right? And in round 5, even though I agree with it going to Merab, it wasn't a blowout round by Merab in any sense. And at the very end, Corey Sandhagen lands the best shot from his side of the entire fight in a round coming off of round 4, where he already like knocked the spit out of Merab with 2 clean right hands, change up right hands, by the way, the same type of change ups that Petr Yan throws with much more power, because I love Corey Sandhagen, but again, not exactly known for his power. And he was able to rock Merab in round 5, right? And when has Merab actually been hurt? It's been round 5 against even guys like O'Malley to the body, something Yan always does, but he's done better. In fact, it's funny. I classify Yan as a builder, an archetype that I'm proud to. I've been putting, I put in this space, and the biggest compliment you get is when you see other people use it. And I see other people use builder. And Petr Yan is also a builder like Max Holloway, right? And like Max Holloway, and some of the things I was pointing to before the Gaethje fight when people were counting him out, I was like, dude, this guy's kicks are getting much better, right? From spin kicks, which he broke Gaethje's nose with. By the way, Yan throws it to the dipping wrestle boxing side. He has head kicks and body kicks that really go really well that he doesn't get a lot of credit for. He was hitting Merab on every break with body kicks. In the O'Malley fight that he should have won, by the way, he was hitting on body kicks. Yan doesn't get credit for any of his body kicks, which is crazy. And extra maddening that the crux of that Aljo rematch the people that argue for Aljo are like, oh, he landed a body kick in round 1. I'm like, oh, now you guys are giving credit to body kicks. Now, against Yan of all people. But he throws it to that side, and what does it do? It sets up head kick finishes for other wrestle boxers like Uriah Faber. Where does he get the finish from that side? Again, O'Malley, not just the body kicks in a fight he won, but he kind of knocked O'Malley out standing in it for a second, right? Maybe he doesn't fall him to the ground. Like O'Malley didn't know where he was at. And what shot was that? It was a left hand. And also, not just the left-sided strikes, right, are good. And the reason why am I pointing that out? Well, because Merab consistently eats left-sided strikes, right? From the jabs in the Sandhagen fight, because Sandhagen was smart, man. His shot selection, he was going to the body. He was attacking on corralling against the cage, left-sided strikes, timing change-ups, doing all the things Petr Yan can do and other fighters have successfully done. Sandhagen went in with the best game plan possible. But like Joe Rogan said in commentary, he really is doing the best possible. He's doing everything right. He just doesn't have the physical tools to stand up with a guy like Merab. And he had to come back from a deficit in a 10-8, right? In a 10-8 round. And again, sorry if I'm going all over the place here, folks. But the point is that there is a map here for Yan, right? Left-sided strikes. And not just left-sided strikes, but also you're going to have to look at the guard. Because Yan could not hand fight, right? And because he couldn't jab and go from southpaw to jab, he relied on way more of a high guard. And something that we saw, and other analysts of mine pointed out in that Jack Della Maddalena Islam Makhachev fight, which also has some stylistic parallels here, folks, is that Jack was too much on a high guard, and it allowed for access to the hips, right? And we know Merab is nightmare fuel if you can get to the hips. And because he didn't have the jab, because he was only working one-handed, not only did you see more orthodox that me and Mike pointed out in that first Merab fight, but you also saw more shelling, right? And that was just giving Merab all the leeway in. However, you look at the fights after, and I noted, he's immediately throwing right hands again. So I'm like, okay, that gives credence to the evidence we have with the right hand injury, but also he's back to using his long guard. He's back to hand fighting and back to that Max Holloway Gaethje point to tie that in that I just gave you guys previously. I know I'm all over, but I do tie this in, folks. He's gotten to be a better kicker, which I think is bad news for Merab because Merab can counter kicks and he does. Merab can take down counters off of kicks and he does. And he did to Petr Yan, right? However, like Mad Lab said, if there is one fighter that can wrestle, there is one fighter that can have the stamina, if there is the one fighter that can beat Merab at the end of the day because of all those things, it is Petr Yan. And if I picked Petr Yan, assuming he was going to be some semblance of a full fighter, again, none of the fighters come in healthy, but some semblance of a full fighter, then just like with the same argument we both had for Poatan versus Ankalaev, Mike, it may look like we're stubborn if I lose this, right? but I got to pick Yan here. Long-winded, but that is my connectivity argument. That's what I'm seeing. Will it be easy? No, but people have beaten Merab before, and people have beaten Merab recently. Umar won rounds 1, 2, and 3. Again, go watch it again. If you're actually watching what's landing and scoring there. But yeah, man, give me Petr Yan here. It's not confident. It shouldn't be confident. But I'll take him.
All right.
Sorry for long-winded breakdown. We'll be faster on some of these out here. We're going to go Pantoja versus Van. Alexandre Pantoja, of course, is a deserved favorite. Minus 225. Comeback. Joshua Van plus 185. Over 3.5 rounds. Minus 150. Under 3.5 rounds. Plus 130. I'm sure I just probably, even though I'll get probably proven right on a lot of that analysis, I probably turned off a lot of listeners. So, Mike, take it away with this one, please.
No, I just, I think this is what we talk about all the time with the UFC. Sometimes they push people a little too fast. This is a spot where they're pushing this kid a little bit too fast. I like Josh Van. I think Josh Van's a very good talent. 5 fights this year. Amazing boxing, very fun to watch, refreshing, good kid. There's a lot of good things to like about him. But at the end of the day, there are levels to this. And you're putting him against a guy in Pantoja who is he really is like the boogeyman. You know what I mean? And, when I look at this fight, not only from the gap in skill set and competition and resume and just being in 5-round fights, Josh Van's never been in a 5-round fight before. You got to look at the matchup in this. And the matchup is bad. If you look at the streamline of Josh Van, what is the one thing that happens, DT, when you pick Josh Van? What do you have to wait for? What do you wait for when you pick him? Well, what do you know is going to kind of happen during this fight? He's going to kind of drop the first half of the fight. He drops that first round, kind of feels, he's a slow starter. Then all of a sudden, he's got those comeback wins where he comes back, he starts letting his hands go. You can't do that against Pantoja. You can't get a situation where you're behind against a guy like Pantoja. Sure. Can you gain some ground with him? Yes. But what are the chances of this kid in his first 5-round fight ever, a championship fight, the highest level of opposition, a guy who's got the best back take in the UFC, most underrated back take in the UFC, who's just got crazy pressure, crazy ability to take your back. He knows when to shoot the gap and when not to shoot the gap. He's very, very tough. Does he get wild at times? Is Josh Van a more seamless striker down the center line and stuff like that? Yes, he is. As the time goes on, Pantoja does seem to lose a little steam. He starts loading up on his shots a little bit too much. He leaves that whole, center line open. But you still got to find them. And you still got to have that in your mind. I just went 2 rounds with this guy, and this guy took me down. He took my back. How much can I really commit? I just think it's too quick for this kid. I think this kid's got a lot of potential, but it's too quick. Give me Pantoja by 3rd-round submission.
Well said, Mike. And I'm partly surprised that so many people are in line with that analysis as well, because I'm so used to MMA gamblers. Maybe they've finally learned, trying to fade Pantoja. Again, man, as bad as I am, and again, no need to defend me here on that. But Pantoja's a guy I made tons of money on, man. I made my biggest bets of my career on, official, unofficial. And yeah, he's really kept me afloat. He's one of those dudes. So obviously I have bias there. You guys know how much of an appreciator I am of Pantoja, especially when you look back at criminal. Anybody that didn't give him Fighter of the Year in 2024, I want to say, or 2023, it's fucking criminal. That post-fight speech after the Fight of the Year against Brandon Moreno at UFC 290 on what was Card of the Year, which shame on anybody who not just didn't put that as Card of the Year, who even thought Card of the Year was a fucking question, especially since then, the only card that can compete with 290 is 300, which was 300. And also, lest we forget, UFC kind of got lucky on that one. You know what I'm saying? As they're doing now, we're about to have the biggest women fight they announced, since 7 years. And even then, Kayla and Amanda, it takes Kayla forever to get down to the weight. Amanda's coming off retirement. They barely get in 6 weeks on the announcement. Now they've been training and they've been preparing ahead. But again, anyways, I'm going to sidetrack here. Point is, Pantoja's fucking awesome. And it's probably too close to Van as much as I love Van. I will say, though, and great analysis on Van as well. And the parallel for me, Mike, with Van is Petr Yan, who we just talked about, right? It's very similar to Petr Yan in the pacing sense. He doesn't have the full-fledged arsenal like Petr Yan, which is why I think he's going to be choked out in this fight. And even on the feet, like, you know, he's like, oh, I'm a counter puncher. Is like, does Pantoja really want to rush in? Like, A, Pantoja is a way better striker than people give credit for. B, how many flyweights / as good as Josh Van is, and as much as I love him, how many flyweights are a one-punch knockout guy? Is Josh Van a one-punch knockout guy? The answer is no, but then watch, he's going to get it now. And the third thing is, if we're doing a chin ratio, right, like a chin spectrum, like for active fighters, that is, like 2 of the best chins that are active are on this card. We'll get to your Italian brethren soon enough, Mike. But I would argue Pantoja is slightly above him, you know. So we're talking about, regardless of where you rate him, we're talking about one of the best chins in MMA as well, right? So you want to talk about proven and this and that. You could argue that minus 225 is too low. He did open at minus 270, but you could argue that minus 225 is too low. Could you not, Mike?
Yeah. I like, you know, like I said, we're going to get into this with a couple other fights, but listen, every dog has their day. Like, you know, when you saw, well, who just got knocked, like Leon Edwards never got knocked out before. He ended up getting knocked down in his last fight. Like, every dog has his day. And Josh Van does have the tools to knock you out, especially if he stretches you down the, you know, he pulls you down the stretch. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just a terrible, to me, it's a terrible matchup. I just think it's a bad matchup for Van.
Yeah, me too. But again, like you said, every dog has his day, and never underestimate. Shout out to my guy MMA Plays, who says this card should be nicknamed after this podcast, Dog or Pass. I hear you there. And even though I'm heavy on the chalk here, I don't disagree with you, MMA Plays, you know, and neither does people in the chat. Shout out Pistol Pete and Mr. Muggs. But yeah, if anything can jinx Pantoja's chances, it could be this guy with the busted thumb who can barely point to himself, right, to do the double thumbs. So we'll see, because Mike, I did throw 3.5 units. I wanted to go a big 5-unit bet. The biggest bet I've ever went is, which isn't, again, because I actually bet real money, and I don't bet too crazy despite my losses. If you actually look at what I'm betting and how much, it's actually lower than the standard of most cappers or whatever the hell you want to call it. Was Pantoja against Brandon Royval. I put like 500 on it, you know. And I remember again, with Pantoja just being, even as a big favorite as he was in that fight, just still being disrespected. I remember the guy taking my bet at the counter would give me one of those, good luck, man. I was like, oh, fuck. Started getting in my head. But I split it up, right? 3.5, Mike. 3.5 units on minus 225. But I also played Pantoja inside the distance. Now, I got this at a better line that you can't get this now, so I want to state that. Most people will put opening lines as their bets and like, oh, this is what I'm on. And they're releasing their videos even later in the week. You know, it's like, come on now. At least account for it, right? And I account for it either way. I'm both CLV and non-CLV, and that's not a thing for me, right? We'll see if it cashes. But Pantoja inside the distance, plus 150. I put 1.5 units on that for a 5-unit total. Now, I still might put Pantoja by sub, which is not a great number, plus 125 in my round robin, Mike, because I have other things in there that are big value. But that's my bet for this card. And should we be saving what we decide on for our best bet at the end? We'll say that for the end,
yeah.
Save that for the end.
You might talk me onto something.
Yeah, that's very true. But that's what I'm on for this. Anything to add to this before we move on, Mike?
No, I think we're both on the same page.
Awesome. Let's move on to the next fight. We've got Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira. I feel like if anything's going to be a Twitter fight of the week or something, it might be this fight. Plus 105 for the former champ Moreno, who opened as a slight favorite, I believe. And you've got a slight favorite now in Tatsuro Taira, the rising prospect from Japan, minus 125, over 2.5 rounds, minus 325, under 2.5 rounds, plus 265. Mike, what do you got for this one, buddy?
I got concerns on both sides here. Like when I look at Tatsuro Taira, you're looking at a kid with a very, very high ceiling, right? I mean, we've seen his grappling. We know that the UFC is kind of pushing this kid, the whole Asian market thing. That's where big money comes fluctuating in. But, you know, if you really want to see the greenery of him, you watch the Brandon Royval fight. You know what I mean? You could see like he was starting to show his greenery there. You know, and there was only one fight before the Park fight. I think he's very talented. I think he's got a very high ceiling, but sometimes, I don't know what his ceiling can be. You know, we talk about Patchy Mix. We talk about all these guys who were coming up and there were all this big hoopla, you know, but I do think he is like the real deal coming up. I really, really do. The problem is he's facing a guy in Brendan Moreno where like this dude is so battle tested. He left the UFC for a while. He ended up coming back, a completely different fighter, winning the belt. And a lot of people don't understand because they're watching the Figueiredo fights, right? Because he kind of lived in that house for a while. He was fighting Figueiredo. It was like always Figueiredo, where you look at him and we watch these wars and they're both marked up and they're both hitting each other with big shots. But a lot of people forget that he's ultimately at heart, he's a grappler. You know, he's a very good grappler. Brandon Moreno is a very, very good grappler. If you look at his resume, he's got more submissions than he does knockouts. You know, so when I look at this fight and I look at the greenery of Taira and I look at, you know, he's ultimately a grappler. Sure, his striking is getting better, but it's nothing on the level of a Brandon Moreno. You know what I mean? And then you got to question the dog in him. Like when this fight starts getting pulled into the, you know, into the later minutes, like if this turns into a dog fight, does he have that dog in him? I know Moreno's got the dog in him. The problem I have with Moreno here is he shop worn at this point? Is he going to get old overnight? I mean, he's only 31 years old, but when you walk the path of, you know, most resistance, like he does sometimes, like you get old really quick. So you got to wonder, like, did he lose a step or
yeah,
is it, you know, because if you want to talk about iron cast chins and durability, you got to put Moreno up there too. This is a guy with a great chin. He's never been finished, you know? So, when I look at this fight, I just think that he has the ability to expose the greenery and landscape Taira in this fight. I do. I think that even though it's a very small dog, I'm going Moreno here. I think Moreno's going to outdog him in this fight and win a decision.
Beautiful analysis, Mike. Beautiful analysis. I'll say to the audience and the times trying not to repeat any of that, but I agree with a ton of that, man. But here's my reservation, and I was actually talking to Dayton pre-show about this. I think he asked me about this fight, and I have a bias. Again, you got to admit your biases and stuff, where you're coming from, whether you're right, whether you're wrong. I think it's always a good thing to do, right? Not enough people do on either side of it, right? And you know, I've been wrong against Taira before, and say what you will. Oh, injury win against Perez. Like the kid's gotten better. The kid's got undeniable talent, man, and no one should be surprised if he's fighting for gold, especially with the way UFC matchmakes and whatnot these days, right? Like, you know, I would not be surprised at all, right? So standing in this kid's way really makes me worry. Shout out to my guy Liam, picks fights. He's the Taira whisperer. Curious what he'll have to say about this fight. But I get a bit nervous, you know, and stats aren't everything, you know. You actually got to look at the stats. Like, okay, well, how was he taken down? Is it an excusable way of being taken down? And excusable or not, is it a style that Taira will take him down? Now, I haven't fully completed that analysis. I'm actually in the middle of taping this one, folks. But, you know, I will say that, you know, you look at the escapes and the scrambling ability outside of top guys like Pantoja, who I'm obviously super high on. He's not ranked in my top 5 / MMA Junkies top 5 rear naked choke artists in UFC history for a reason, folks, right? So a little forgivable there, and he didn't, you know, at least in the last fight didn't get choked by him. So I don't know if Taira finishes him, but if he doesn't finish him, one body triangle and back kick is around, right? And you are essentially playing that, okay, maybe Moreno loses 1 round, more than reasonable, but we're playing on a fine margin here, and the odds represent it, right? And it is dog or pass, and I'm picking Moreno officially. But Mike, I wrote live next to some of these, as I tend to do, to try to parse out what, you know, especially because I'm trying to save money on my bankroll. Like, do I really need to bet this guy? And if I do need to bet him, is this more of a live bet, right? Can I save myself some money there, both on the front end and maybe even on the back end, whether I bet or not, right? So you have to kind of differentiate that as you're plotting your course, especially when you get, you know, more serious about the silly game that we shouldn't be playing, that is MMA betting. But I wrote live next to his name, Mike, because I want to see how that first round gets. Now, you're not going to get plus money probably on Moreno if you do fire on him, if he's looking like he can defend some of the takedowns, if it's looking like not only he can defend some of the takedowns, but it's a competitive round, and he's defending takedowns. He might still lose that first round, but if he's not getting his back outright taken, you know, which means, you know, he's not working from an outright deficit, then you fire. Now, at that point, maybe you're getting up to minus 140, minus 150, minus 160. But how much difference is a minus 140 or minus 150, let's say, compared to a plus 110? You know, not the craziest amount of difference, especially if you're only looking to bet or make a unit, right? In that case, you got to bet more than a unit if we're getting to the minus 140, minus 150. But that's kind of my mindset, Mike. Does that make sense as far as that goes? And I hate on anybody, by the way, that takes a plus money shot on pre-flop.
Yeah. No. Yep.
I'm going to wait live. All right. Let's go to the next fight then. We got Henry Cejudo versus Payton Talbott on the main card. Henry Cejudo, the former champ, former 2-division champ, plus 215 with the comeback on Talbott, minus 255. I think it's a little bit steeper and will grow steeper after a post-fight interview. We'll talk about that in a sec because the over 2.5 rounds is minus 235, under 2.5 rounds, plus 195. Mike, I will just say this fight felt like a stay away from me from the jump. I was thinking about Cejudo in a round robin, even though I probably wasn't going to pick him. And I hate to do the typical MMA better trends or this or that. I talk crap about it, but let's be honest. They are trends for a reason. And a lot of these MMA bettors are right for a reason. So I want to give credit where credit's due and say that I share the same worry, Mike, as MMA bettors do when someone says, this is my retirement fight. What's your thoughts on that, Mike? And obviously, what's your thoughts on the fight as a whole?
Yeah, so if you look at the trend of this card, right, you got a lot of young up-and-coming prospects that are going against, like, very good names that are kind of on a downtick. Like, that's the way it is. You got these up-and-coming prospects, find guys that lost 2 or lost 1 or lost 3, or like in Vittori's case, so, and you're right. And it could work one of two ways. It could be, yeah, he's just doing it for one final hurrah, or he's going to be completely locked in. I see this all the time with, like, the new wave of the MMA community where, like, they jump on these hype trains, and people like me and yourself and the OGs take advantage of it. They move the lines, keep moving the lines for us, Payton Talbott, when he fought Hani Barcelos, everybody thought I was nuts for picking Hani Barcelos. When Patchy Mix came in, people thought I was nuts for picking against Patchy Mix. Like, everybody, like, jumps on these fucking hype trains like these guys are the next coming to Christ. And if you go through the comments on the old videos, you'll see, oh, bro, how can you pick against Patchy Mix? He's a stud. And okay, wait and see what happens. And then they go silent when they lose. Yeah. Payton Talbott, the same thing. Who has he really fought? Like, I was at the fight against Cameron Saman. I was actually, my tweet got retweeted from ESPN because I just so happened to catch that knee that he caught Saman with. He fought Aguiar. He fought Saman. He fought Gamori. He fought Lima. He fought, the one good guy he fought was Barcelos, and he lost to him. So he's really not proven. Like, there's nothing about him. I don't even know where his ceiling is. I think he's a talented kid. I think he's a marketable kid. I think he's got a lot of good tools to work with. But at the end of the day, like, you can have the greatest puzzle in the world, but if you don't know how to put it together, like, what good is it? Do I think he's going to get better? Absolutely. Do I think he could be very good for the UFC in that division? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, like, we know what his biggest weakness is. His biggest weakness is when you put him on his ass. Now he's going against a guy who, yes, he's aging. Yes, this is his last fight. Yes, there's a lot of question marks, but you're not talking about a wrestler. You're talking about an Olympic level wrestler, a guy where if he goes in there and says, look, I'm going to commit to get a win. Like, I want to get a win. I don't care about showcasing, getting bonuses or this and that. I want to showcase and get wrestling my ass off. There's no reason why Cejudo can't win this fight, because Cejudo's boxing is very good as well, when he wants to use it. But, he's a very good mind, and the problem with a lot of people, myself included, is sometimes we give the best advice, but we never take our own advice. He knows exactly what he needs to do to win this fight.
Yes.
He knows the exact path to do. Is he going to take it? Is he going to take his own advice? Who knows? Maybe not. But the fact of the matter is there are some serious paths there for him to win this fight. It may be boring. It may be, what do the new kids call it, crotch sniffing or whatever the hell they call it when, they just wrestle your way to victory. But if he wants to win this fight and he leans on and he puts his singlet on and wrestles and keeps his chin clean, there's no reason why he can't win this fight. So to me, this is dog or pass. Payton Talbott has to still prove to me that this kid is good, is like going to pan out, or he's going to, show me that you beat some really good level of opposition before I lean on you. So to me, give me Cejudo in this spot.
All right. I appreciate that.
Dirty Reg 22. Wait, hold on a second. Dirty Reg 22. I agree with you. He was a stud, but he was a stud in Bellator. Wasn't a stud at this level. Like that, you got it different levels. Like if you look at his opposition, yeah, he's fought some good guys, but it never translated over. You know what I mean? It's just not translating over. Like, you got to show me that you're a stud at this level. Bellator, they got some great fighters. Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. But this is the cream of the crop. Like, it's not like Pride anymore, where Pride back in the day was better than the UFC. You know, the UFC is the cream of the crop, and if you can't translate over, what good are the studs that you were beating in Bellator?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Shout out to Dirty Reg for getting in the chat, as well as Cloud V with the Pantoja versus Ursig shout. Yeah, and that was obviously a very competitive fight. But I would argue, got to be careful about that. I think that fight being close, even though it technically was, but maybe not as close as made out to be. Almost did people a disservice, kind of like we talk about watching Merab footage where, you know, it leads you to pick against them, as I've been wrong on too, by the way. I'm no better here. I'm just saying, like, you know, you got to be careful about those fights and whatnot. And we're still seeing where Ursig settles. You know, he kind of got rushed a little too fast, even though he came close. The same point lies there that Mike made earlier in the show about Van. It's really dangerous when you rush these guys too fast, because as close as Ursig came over other fighters, you know, if we're doing the MMA math game, how Ursig's fared since and overall doesn't match up to those other fighters. So that's the volatility of this game. You know, it's a real matchup game. But great points on Cejudo, by the way, Mike. Bringing it back to that. I still want to pick him here. However, I won't be touching this fight. This is just a big stay away from me, Mike. For the sake of the show, I'm actually going to take Talbott. But if Cejudo is able to get, you know, inside and get his inside trip going, kill around, make this a little closer, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised. But having to close that range at his age and what I've seen recently of him and kind of where he's at, again, man, I hate to, you know, go the typical MMA gambler route, but that takes a lot of stock away from the things that I normally would look at and play into, which I don't disagree with you on, by the way. So I hope you're right. But I will take Talbot, and hopefully there's another fight on here. There's more fights that we disagree on here, because I wouldn't feel, even as the favorite, I wouldn't feel comfortable with this as the head-to-head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just tell you guys this too. Just because I say dog or pass doesn't mean I'm going to the window betting it. You know what I mean? It's just I'm letting you guys know, like, I wouldn't touch Talbot at this price. And if gun to head, if I had to, then I would. It's a dog or pass situation. But it doesn't mean I'm betting Cejudo. I'm not confident. I'm just saying that, like, you're not getting me even a sniff Talbot, even on a parlay at that price.
Yep, absolutely. You know, speaking of fights that, you know, we could be going head to head and on. Let's get to this main card opener between Jan Blachowicz and Bogdan Guskov. Jan Blachowicz, the former champ, -130. Bogdan Guskov, who's been overachieving and making his presence known, +110 for that underdog. Over 2.5 rounds, +120. Under 2.5, -140. They're expecting it to be violent. Maybe that -140 would be a way you look at this fight to avoid sides, because me, Mike, as you know, and as the audience probably knows, I don't call it the soggy dick special for nothing. You can't go a card without Dan Tom, you know, jumping on the train of some old dude to win. And that's probably going to be on Blachowicz. Now, I've been battling whether or not I want to bet him. I haven't seen a -130, and that might be enough to tip me, because I was already at the tipping point at -135. He opened at, I believe, -150. And on paper, that is a buy low. However, I say on paper for a reason, because that's on paper. We really don't know how much Jan Blachowicz age. Maybe he's every bit of his age and injury, you know, with the layoff. And I know he came back recently, but, you know, maybe he shook some dust off in that fight. Maybe we shouldn't judge him fully off that fight, especially who he was fighting. But yeah, man, I feel like Blachowicz, this could be this and another spot. I feel like if you're betting one fighter, you should bet the other. It almost feels like, because there's a couple of these arguments on the card, Mike. But yeah, it feels like a buy low spot. Does it mean he's going to win? I don't know. I'm not confident, but I'm going to pick Blachowicz. Mike, what do you got for this fight?
Yeah, I was never a Blachowicz guy. I used to say when he won Blachowicz, when he won the belt, I was like, this is. I looked at him like almost like a Jamal Hill. I was like, this guy's not a champion. Like he's overachieving now. Like he had a good streak of fights. He's a good fighter, but all of a sudden he wins, and all of a sudden Rogan and all these guys, they come up with this mythical state. He's got this legendary Polish power. Where did they get this from? He's got, in all of his fights, he's got more submissions than he does knockouts. Like, I think he's got 9 knockouts in his entire career. Like, he's not this big power puncher. And he started buying into it. He started buying into Polish power, and everyone started buying into the legendary Polish power. I like Blachowicz. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a humble guy. He's a family guy. Like there's not much, you can't not like the guy. But at the end of the day, like he has been overachieving up until late. You know what I mean? And he's 42 years old. And like you said, Guskov is overachieving as well. But he's got momentum. You know what I mean? And it's just like, do I want to pick a 42-year-old that I was never really super high on? I'm staying away from this fight completely, but I'm going to lean Guskov on this one. You're
Copy
muted,
that.
bud.
I think my dog is backing you there as well. She was barking there at the mute there. But yeah, he could very well win. He's training over there with Johnny Walker, his brother, Walter Walker over there. And yeah, you got to imagine he's getting better at his submission defense. Blachowicz, the thing is, he's still got to wrestle in this fight, is where his on-paper advantage. The problem is he hasn't really been wrestling, and you got to wonder how much of that was.
He fell in love with the phrase "fucking Polish fucking power." He really believes it. He even says it in his interviews. Do you guys know Polish fucking power? I'm like, what Polish power are you fucking talking about?
Well, it could be worse than that, Mike. It could be that he just can't do it anymore, right? With age and injury.
Yeah.
So either way, that's what's keeping me off of pulling the trigger. That being said, I will officially pick Blachowicz here. I will officially pick him, but to Mike's point, man, Guskov's a live dog, man. I don't blame anybody. You got the brownie.
I'm not going near it.
You know, we'll see if Dayton goes near it. I'm curious what his dog of the week's going to be this week, but Brownie was barking on that one. Let's go to the next fight. We got Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres. Grant Dawson, who looks like the antagonist in every Disney film, who says you're not good enough to be on this team. Minus 215. Come back on Manuel Torres plus 185. Grant Dawson, by the way, actually laughed at that joke and appreciated when I made that. So I have appreciation for a guy with self-deprecating humor like that. Shouts to Dawson. Over 1.5 rounds plus 110. Under 1.5 rounds minus 130. They're expecting violence. What are you expecting for this one, Mike?
Yeah, I like Manuel Torres, not in this fight, but I do like him. I do like him as a fighter. I think he's fun. I think he's exciting. I think he's the kind of guy that, like, if I owned the UFC or I was CEO, I was Dana White, like, I want a guy like that. Good-looking kid. He wants to fight fire with fire. He's never in a boring fight. But when I look at Grant Dawson, I look at a kid who might be probably the most underrated fighter in the UFC, like one of them at least. Very underrated. I mean, if you look at this guy's resume and his run, that fight against Bobby Green, guys, was an absolute fluke. Like, that was an absolute fluke. First of all, Bobby Green doesn't have any fucking power. I could smack you with my couch pillow and I'll hit you harder. But it was a fluke. He lost that fight. Okay. He got sparked out and he lost the fight, but 90 times out of 100, that's not happening. Like, wrong spot, wrong time. When Grant Dawson is running downhill and he's like he's very tough to handle. Like, he's a very, very good fighter. His stand-up is questionable at times. Like, he kind of makes you cringe a little bit. And that's where he's going to be careful here against a guy like Manuel Torres with the knees up the middle and, his precise striking and stuff like that. And Manny has a little bit of an underrated grappling game that people don't talk about enough. But when Grant Dawson's on top of you, he's a fucking problem. And when he finds that seam, when he finds that first seam to get in on your hips, it's just repetitive. So to me, providing Grant Dawson doesn't get chinked, caught with a knee coming up the middle, dealt with something over the top by Manuel Torres, I don't see him losing the fight. I mean, I don't see it being like a super exciting fight if he grounds the fight the entire time. But as underrated as Torres' grappling is, like, I don't care who you are. If Grant Dawson has position on top of you, he's a load to handle, and he gets violent when he's on top. He's just not a guy who sits there and stalls. So I got to go Grant Dawson here.
Yeah, I feel you. I haven't been the biggest Grant Dawson fan. I'm a huge Bobby, and so are you, by the way. You're a big Bobby Green fan too, as well. So, in no way is Mike or am I co-signing on what Mike said, hating on that. And I hate to use the word fluky, but yeah, Mike's absolutely right. I don't know how replicable of a result that is, right? That being said, that is the result that Manuel Torres brings to the table, whether it's by clubbing or by subbing off of a guillotine against perhaps a shooting Grant Dawson, right? Like, the pathway is there, but I'm not a big believer in Manuel Torres. MMA gambling Twitter loves this guys, and they love these kind of guys who like have no sample size at all and no, but they're just like flashy and can get a finish. Like, MMA gambling Twitter, like, they just go tumescent over these fighters. We've seen it time and time again. And yeah, I'm not sold. I'm not sold. And even though it could happen, which is why, you know, even though Grant Dawson, spoiler alert, is probably my second most confident play of this card, I didn't want to pay the chalk on him, right? And even though he's my second most confident play, and maybe I could have parlayed him with Pantoja and turned that minus 225 into a plus 114. Plus 114 is still not the greatest number. And again, if Dawson goes down, I've just tied all my Pantoja credit and love and confidence in him and investment in him to a fallen ship, right? So I didn't want to do that. However, I do like the round 2 or 3 pickups, as I'm known to do. You know, the hot rounds, get your hot rounds here. And even though Manuel Torres could be finished in round 1, Grant Dawson is round 2 is the hot round. I think we both agree on that, Mike. We really like round 2 by submission. And I actually I'm probably going to put round 2 sub or something like that, or maybe fight ends in round 2, if that's even a good enough number to get, you know, coverage on an upset side, coverage on a TKO by Dawson. Not that that's likely. But yeah, I did play. The numbers were good enough. I did play Dawson round 2 and round 3 straight up. I just split up a unit basically. Put 0.63 units at plus 500 for round 2 because I think that's the most likely to hit. And if it goes round 3, you know, even in fights that he was losing or competitive against good guys like Jared Gordon, right, when he was way less experienced, he was still able to dig out and get those round 3 subs. Dawson was. So I put 37 in a row. 37 dicks. My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks. Shout out to anybody who knows that reference. 0.37 U on plus 950 round 3. And again, I'll put some type of round 2 in the round robin as well. Do you like that, Mike? I apologies if I spoke for you on the round 2, but do you like that?
Yeah. I do. I think round 2 is probably the sweet spot on both sides, to be honest with you. I could see if Manuel Torres does catch him with a shot, it might be in round 2. But I just, like I said, I'm not picking a guy that I got to bank on him landing that shot. You know what I mean? So
yep.
I like the round 2. Well,
speaking of picking a guy on landing that shot, speaking of underrated lightweights, because I agree Grant Dawson was underrated, another underrated lightweight from ATT and similar matchup dynamics, we got Chris Duncan versus Terrance McKinney, folks. Terrance McKinney plus 130, Chris Duncan minus 150. These must have been opening odds, man. I haven't seen these across the board. A little wider now. Over 1.5 rounds plus 274. Under 1.5 minus 340. This is actually a southpaw fight. One of the first southpaw fight in the card, so I got stats for you there. Of course, Duncan 1-0 against UFC level lefties. He beat Mateusz Rambecki last time out. I was pretty proud that I called that. Not just called it, but called the southpaw dynamics. Again, it's really hard to be confident. Most orthodox make the same basic mistakes, you know, where they just, I'm just going to, you know, only circle to the outside, but not use my lead hand or not do certain things. Like Duncan was still jabbing. He was going to the body. He was counterbalancing and using actually southpaw-centric techniques against the southpaw, something I called on this here program. And it's not just getting it right for me, folks. Like I more take pride in like getting the tactics right, being like, oh, I love Leon Edwards. I've been higher than Leon Edwards than most, but I'm going to pick against one of the great fighters at welterweight and former champions who've never been stopped to get stopped. I'm not just going to call for him to get stopped. I'm going to call for him to get stopped from a certain strike in a certain particular round, and I'm going to nail all of it. Of course, not get credit for that, but it's okay. But yeah, I really felt proud of that call. So I'm not too worried about Duncan against southpaws. That being said, Duncan has been knocked out before. He's been knocked out by lefts, even if it's been by an orthodox fighter like Borshov, who I know that probably looks extra bad for most people. I'm higher on Borshov than most, but I get it. And more importantly, what it does point out, similar to the last fight, is the opening here clearly is in round 1. But Mike, I am admitting my own bias here. If you give me a guy who has to land the shot, the opportunist over the process guy, you give me the guy who's round 1 or bust over the guy who builds, I'm taking the process or the building guy all day. Not that I'm going to be right. Not that I'm going to be right most of the time, maybe. Who knows? But out of principle, if I'm calling my own biases, I tend to lean that way. I'm leaning that way here. And I'm looking at Duncan in rounds 2 and 3. What do you think of that, Mike, or that analysis or that layout?
Yeah, I think that's the right layout to have with this fight. You know, when you look at a guy like McKinney, you know, early on in his career, you could just tell this guy was, you know, kind of first rounder bust. Like he doesn't have a way to upshift his gears. He goes from like first gear to fucking power band. There's no in between. And then he hasn't figured out yet biologically, like his conditioning just goes like this. He turns into a different fighter. So my approach on this fight is I'm with you. I'm taking Duncan. I'm taking process. You know, I'm taking, you know, minutes over moments like you say all the time. But I'm going Duncan here. But the way I would approach this from a wagering perspective is I would wait and bet this live coming into the second round, because if McKinney does do one thing, he either finishes you in the first round, so you'll be safe. You had a no touch if you're on Duncan. Or if you like McKinney, obviously you're going to take him in round number 1. But if you're looking at Duncan, you wait. McKinney's either going to finish in the first round, finished in the first round, but if it goes to the second round, chances are he probably won round 1. Then you're going to get really good odds on Chris Duncan, going into round 2. Then you would slam Chris Duncan in round 2 and just hope that the process, assembles itself. But yeah, I'm going minutes over moments here. I don't trust McKinney. I think like the blueprint is there. You just got to be smart enough and patient enough. And if Duncan's patient enough and he doesn't get clipped, I think it's his fight from round 2 to round 3.
Yeah, when I said I wrote live next to people's names, Duncan is someone I wrote live for that exact reason. Completely smart, completely okay. However, I got to be transparent, Mike, as I always am, and I'm actually betting this card, so I've definitely got to be transparent here. Maybe it was FOMO, and credit to Data, and those actually are more accurate lines because it looks like it's dipping back down, at least at BOL, Bet Online. You actually can get Duncan at minus 150. Now, I saw him at minus 155 when he looked like he was trending, minus 175, minus 185 and climbing. So based on that, I fired on the minus 155. And also in my defense, the reason being is even though that dynamic is correct that we just laid out, it's not as definite as we make it or the Manuel Torres fight. Because if you actually look at McKinney's record, he has lost in round 1 just as many times as he's lost in round 2. So even though round 1 is McKinney's round, it's his round to win. It doesn't mean he can't lose in that round. And then if you go to his amateur record, which he had a decent amateur record that also has a bunch of stoppage losses, the majority of those stoppage losses come in round 1 more than they come in round 2. And Duncan, even though he can get caught early, he can also catch McKinney early. He's got guillotines, club and sub options. So it might be FOMO here, Mike. Maybe I'm just defending my stance that I've already pulled the trigger. But I will say that, like, even though that makes sense, this is a fight where you can miss out the opportunity to bet live because not only is everybody and their mother going to be doing it and the books are going to be smarter, so they're going to get a head start of you and everybody and their mother, but also you might never get your opportunity to pull the trigger at an inflated price because he just finishes McKinney in round 1, right? So I will throw that out there. I'm not saying you need to be stupid like me and spend money where you don't need to. Waiting to bet live is always the smarter option because the worst case scenario is you didn't lose any money, right? But yeah, I fired on Duncan at 1.55 units at minus 155. So I just want to say that before we move on.
All right.
We got Maycee Barber versus Karine Silva. This is an interesting fight. I won't have too much to say on this one because I didn't study it too much, and it feels like a stay away. Minus 190 for Barber. I don't disagree with who's favored. However, Killer Karine looks sexy by the number at plus 165, Mike. Over 2.5 rounds, minus 240, which kind of feels low for a women's fight, but both these girls have finishing potential, so that's why that number is there. Whereas the under 2.5 rounds, plus 200. Mike, what do you got on this fight?
Yeah, I don't got too much to say. I'll just let you guys know this. Like, activity is a lot. Like, activity means a lot. And if you look at, Maycee Barber's last fight, Karine Silva has had 3 fights since Maycee Barber's last fight. You know what I mean? So she, I do believe in cage rust. I know that, Dominic Cruz doesn't. Some people don't. I'm a firm believer, especially in boxing. But when I look at this fight, good. She's not uber technical, right? She's a dog. She has the Blanchfield string. She's got that Darren Elkin string. She's got that Mackenzie Dern string where, like, no matter what, she's going to move forward. We've seen her with fucked up knees, broken noses, and she'll move forward. She wins her fight not on so much talent, but she wins on fight of just being violent and being a dog. Karine Silva is just much more of an athlete. She's more technical. You're dealing with a bigger cage. She's going to be able to use a lot of movement. And I think Maycee might trip up on her feet a little bit, getting her feet wet again, being out, trying to kick that rust off, where you have Karine Silva, who's got 3 fights under her belt since her last fight. Doesn't matter if she lost to Araujo or not. She still has that cage time. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, like in a 3-round fight where you got to work and you got to kind of work quick. I'm afraid that Barber might, kick off those cobwebs a little bit late and start getting into the fight a little bit later than she normally would if she was, a much more of an active fighter. So, I mean, to me, this is a dog or pass situation, but I'm staying away from it.
Yeah, it feels like a dog or pass situation for sure. I'm probably going to pick Barber, but I could pick Karine Silva for this case. Either way, if I pick Karine, it's not a dog I'm going to be looking to bet. But yeah, You know what? Actually, I'll lean toward Karine Silva just because of the medical question marks with Barber and whatnot the last time out. I wish her the best, obviously, but yeah, maybe that's enough for me to lean with Karine. Again, not confident there. Let's go to the next fight, shall we? We got Farés Ziam versus Nazim Sadykhov. I feel like this could be a low-key fight that the MMA gamblers are arguing about. I'm trying to pay attention to that too much, but this feels like it, right? Plus 113 for Nazim Sadykhov. Farés Ziam, the smile killer, minus 133. No, he is not. I can't even remember the person now. Yusuf Zalal. It's Farés Ziam, folks. I get those two confused. Is it racist? I don't know, but I do. Over 2.5 rounds, minus 205. Under 2.5 rounds, plus 177. Southpaw record here, of course. Nazim is Sadykhov is a southpaw. Ziam 1-2 against UFC level lefties. Now, his one win is a split decision win. I will defend it. It should be a unanimous decision win. However, it comes against the guy have traditionally rated the lowest for quite some time, Claudio Puelles of all people, and he's lost to Terrance McKinney, round 1 rear naked choke, and as well as a decision to Don Maj all the way back in his UFC 242 debut, way back, not way back, but a decent ways back. I haven't been too impressed by Farés Ziam, and I've been very impressed by Sadykhov. And if you look at Farés Ziam's record, he's got more wins in the UFC, but he's winning the fights he should be. And again, people are like, oh, he went to, the fight with Borshov could be a bad look because, again, people rate Borshov low for the Sadykhov side. But he was winning the minutes. It really came down to, whether he's winning minutes or he's losing the minutes, he can get those big moments where he needs to. But I guess I do understand he does seem to fight. Anybody that does shoulder rolling styles makes things look closer than they ought to be, right? We've talked about fighters, before with this. And Sadykhov is one of those guys where, like Petr Yan, even though Petr Yan doesn't shoulder roll as much, he will kind of roll with the punches. He'll work off the high guard. He'll let a guy kind of empty out and then return. Sadykhov will do the same thing. For people with a striking eye, we're used to seeing this, Mike, but I get how the optics are bad for other people. But I like Sadykhov here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Farés Ziam's getting a little bit of a boost, with his pricing and DraftKings and with his number, just for the mere fact that, he beat Mike Davis. And I'm super, super high on Mike Davis. I always was high on Mike Davis. I think Mike Davis has championship pedigree, but he did not fight Mike Davis that night. No. That was not Mike Davis that Farés Ziam fought. So great to have the name on the record. But that was not Mike Davis. Like, I was literally baffled. He was pulling guard. Like, when does Mike Davis ever pull guard? Like, there was clearly something wrong with him that night. The thing I do like about Ziam is he does know how to fight long. He does know how to utilize his reach very, very well. He is tricky in there. He is calculated. He doesn't really, exude more energy than he needs to in there. But I think Sadykhov could do something that Mike Davis should have done. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's going to go in there and he's going to fight the fight that Mike Davis should have fought in there. And as much as it's such a great look that he beat Mike Davis, it wasn't Mike Davis. And I think Sadykhov is going to prove that on Saturday.
Yep. I like that too. I actually put a unit on Sadykhov. I don't want to, make you reveal your hand already. I know, Mike, sometimes you'll wait, maybe toward the end of the week to weigh-ins and whatnot. But can I say that he's our dog of the week? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, why not? Sure, I'll take that.
He is the Benji Boy dog of the week, Nazim Sadykhov, baby. And I just put one unit at plus 110. Nothing crazy, nothing crazy. I just think he's the better. I think he's the better fighter, and you're gonna give me plus money. I'll take a shot. It's simple as that. Nothing more to think about. We got, speaking of chins, though, I teased it earlier on the chin spectrum. Who else is on the top of that chin spectrum? Well, that is the Italian dream, Marvin Vettori. He faces Bruno Ferreira. Vettori is your slight favorite, minus 115. Ferreira, basically pick 'em price, minus 105 on the other side. Over 1.5 rounds, minus 175. That also feels ridiculously low for a Vettori fight. Under 1.5 rounds, plus 155. That over actually feels like it's calling my name. Like, I feel like that's going to blow up, especially at 1.5. This is a tough one for me. Bruno Ferreira, by the way, he is 1-0 against UFC level lefties, but that was against a short notice, lower level, no offense, Jackson McVeigh. So I don't know how much, tax you want to put and how much weight you want to put into that. But Mike, what do you got for this fight, bud?
Celle luna mense male, mamma mia, mamaritare. The fucking fellow Italian. We never get good fighters, bro. It's not our thing. The Italians just can't make it happen, dude. Look, man, this is the way I look at this. This is the same thing that we're going to talk about before. It's to me, it's minutes over to have the moments. He's going to have his pockets. He's going to have his spots. He's loads up on shots. He's got a good grappling game. He's got explosive movements. Like Vettori can't be boring in there, because if he's boring in there, the moments might overlap the minutes. But I just think from a technical aspect, Vettori is the better fighter. Like he's the more technical fighter. He's the more patient fighter. You can't be too patient in there, because in a close round, if Bruno Ferreira lands something big or does something that kind of sparks the interest of the judges, they might lean his way a little bit. But Vettori's in a pickle here. I don't think he loses this fight that he gets cut, but he's in a pickle. Like he's got to win this fight. Like this is a fight where he has to win. He looks like he's in really, really good shape. We know how his chin is. I'm a little nervous about his chin, because how much damage can he possibly take until it starts to show little cracks in there, and Bruno can crack. But I think this, if he fights the right fight, to the point where he kind of takes away, he enters the fray just enough where Bruno really can't be as physical as he wants to be with his power, and really he could start to get him to load up and fight a little bit, sloppy. And if you fight sloppy, you don't need big power. Vettori doesn't have big power. He's not a big finisher, but you could score. You could score. You could use your technical ability to kind of, skirt forward and score. So I do like Vettori here. I think Vettori by decision. I actually, there's one bet that I do have in at the site right now, and that was the first bet I put in. I got him at a pretty decent number. So I did put Vettori in. I also got 2 wagers in for 2 futures in that are really, really tasty that are on the site right now. So yeah, give me Vettori by decision.
You heard it here, folks. Yeah, probably how it goes. I don't hate the over. If you're looking for something sexy, though, I will say look at maybe Vettori by submission. I don't, again, take, as far as like a round robin or something fun goes for a high number, take it with a grain of salt. Oh, they don't got it 1.5 for me. It's 2.5 total. But Vettori, a guy who notoriously says really stupid shit all the time, like nothing but. When he does say something smart, you kind of got to pay attention just for that reason alone. And he even admitted, he's like, I don't know why I've gotten away from my grappling. This has been really stupid. It's incredibly underrated. It always has been. Dude's a brown belt under what's his name? Oh my God, I'm missing it now. Anyways, but yeah, he's actually got legit jiu-jitsu experience, underrated wrestling, scrambling, and all that. And Bruno Ferreira's last loss came by submission to Basmagomedov, so that could be something. But yeah, it's probably Vettori by decision. Vettori be my pick here, just like Blachowicz. This could be a really big buy low spot, right, on Vettori as well. So I don't blame anybody for taking either of those guys. I will be picking them. I don't know if I'm going to be playing them though, if I'll be honest. Let's move on. Let's try to speed break down to the last bit of these. We've got Edson Barboza versus Mr. Turner. Jalen Turner making his comeback from his brief retirement. Minus 300 for Turner, plus 250 for Edson Barboza, minus 110 for the over 1.5, under 1.5, also minus 110. Got some last of the least of the Southpaw records for you. Barboza, despite his long record, only 3-2 against UFC level lefties. And I still got to go back and go through his Giga and Murphy fight, because those were switch stance fighters. But yeah, it's been less of the stance and more about pressure, in my opinion. I mean, one of my first big underdog cashes, speaking of plus 300s and stuff like that, I think I got like a plus 290 or something on Michael Johnson back in the day over Edson Barboza. But is Turner a pressurer? Not really, Turner, can be hit to the body as well, which is something Barboza can do. Barboza can target those legs, but it is hard to be confident in either guy. And that length and that danger factor of Turner is just so potent out there. I'm going to be siding with Turner, but this is a stay away fight for me, Mike. What do you got?
Yeah, stay away from me too. When you look at Barboza, I mean, if you look at his track record lately, he's 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 wins, 2 losses. So if you guys are into MMA math, he's up for a win, but I don't do MMA math. As far as Turner, I think he's underperforming. I think he's got, 4 losses in his last 5 fights. Yeah. The one thing that does scare me about Turner, because his greatest attribute is his length, but dude, he's got very skinny legs. And if Barboza can find a way into the fray, into that gray area, and start chopping away, it's not going to take many to take his attributes away. But Barboza, man. I mean, I love him to death. The guy's in phenomenal aesthetic shape and stuff like that. But give me the length. Give me the length of Jalen Turner to get this one done. But this is a stay away from me. Like I think the price is crazy, even from a DraftKings perspective. 9,300. I think it's nuts.
It's dog or pass, and I will say, I'm gonna look at Barboza by decision. I feel like if you're looking for a cheeky leg, if it goes to decision, that means something probably didn't necessarily go right for Turner, right? Not saying that he can't win that, but something probably didn't go right if it went that long. Probably his confidence issues came to haunt him. And I wonder what that would be. But Barboza by decision is plus 1,000. Or no, is it plus 1,000? No, can't be right. Plus 600, plus 700. Yeah. Right. That's pretty high still. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Let's go to the next fight. We got Ibo Aslan versus Iwo Baraniewski. Baraniewski came off the Contender Series. I gave him the obligatory A for finishing his fighter really fast, but we really didn't get to see too much of him. Whereas Ibo Aslan, we've finally been getting to see more of him as he's been in the UFC, but it's not been impressive. And he's a plus 165 because of it. And Baraniewski minus 190, over 1.5 rounds, plus 153, under 1.5, minus 175. This just feels like another unplayable fight where I'm going to pick the favorite. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, I got Baraniewski here. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, you can check my grading the winners if you want a little more of him there. I always cover those. We got Mansour Abdul-Malik, little Eric Nixick Extreme Couture bias on my side there. Not that you need matters because of the line. He's minus 1,200. Come back on Antonio Tricoli, plus 750. Over 1.5 rounds, minus 174. Under 1.5, minus 200. Under even chalked, you'd be like, this is just under or pass because you can't play the money line. That being said, we got surprised in that Brundage fight, right? Maybe Tricoli can make it long either way or this or that. That being said, obviously I'm going to be siding with the favorite. Even if I didn't have the Extreme Couture Eric Nixick bias, our guy Eric will be in his corner. But yeah, this is an unbettable fight from a line perspective. Mike, do you got anything to add?
Yeah, not really. No, I'm with you, Malik, there. I met Tricoli a couple times at my gym. Super nice guy. Big for the division. He was showing me video Costa training and stuff like that. So, he's attributes and stuff like that. I feel like the timing is always wrong for him. It's either a late minute notice, his contract, it's a situation where he's got to wait.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's just everything with him. The timing with him is just all wrong. You know what I mean? So yeah, give me Malik here. I mean, like I said, he could extend the fight. I mean, Tricoli's not he's not going to give up on himself, like, for sure. So I can see a situation. Maybe it goes to the cards and like, people are jumping all over the inside the distance and it doesn't go there, because you got to remember when he lost by knockout, he was coming in on super short notice. He just kind of took that fight. And then obviously the trees and gore. I mean, the lose by submission by him is a bad look, but I'm going to pick Malik, but I'm not going to go near this fight.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. Let's go to the next fight. Speaking of Extreme Couture bias, we've got Muhammad Naimov facing Myron Santos. Naimov plus 210 underdog, Santos minus 250 favorite, over 2.5 rounds, minus 250, under 2.5 plus 205. I like the over, because it's the same as a money line from that perspective, but I'm not trying to play minus 250s in general, so I won't be touching that. I will add, though, although I said Extreme Couture bias, I went and I interviewed Eric Nixick for Home of Fight recently, and I was catching up on the fighters talking about this card, and Santos, for whatever it's worth, he actually stayed in Brazil. The way his visa and everything kind of worked out timing wise, it kind of made sense. So he didn't do the Las Vegas prep for, if that matters to y'all. That being said, I will pick Santos here, but I'm not jumping to play anything on this at chalk. Mike?
Yeah, the only thing that scares me about the Santos side is that, sometimes he just lays back on his laurels a little bit. Like, he doesn't put his foot on the gas pedal. A couple fights that I did see him fight, I'm like, dude, come on, like, step on the gas a little bit. And he almost has that Josh Van ability where he will step on it late and he'll like kind of steal rounds, and which is fine. But like, once you get to a certain level, you can't get away with that anymore. I'm going to pick Santos, but there's definitely trepidation there.
Yep, 100%. All right, we've got about 6 minutes left or so, Mike. So before we go through the recap of the whole card, do you want to run your promo again before we recap the dog of the week, the put together cycle? And do you want to recap that?
Yes. So guys, I said it in the beginning of the really good promo. You may with us, you get boxing as well. We're the only outlet that really gives you really hardcore. You're getting UFC 323, all the DFS, all the audio breakdowns. You're getting the live stream, the private Discord. Then boxing. There's 2 big fights on this weekend. You get 7 guys giving NFL and NCAA. Again, all that for $14.99. And if you're in and you're a subscriber throughout that time, you're going to be eligible for the New Year special that subscribers only get. And it's the biggest deal that we're throwing out for January. So if you join and you remain a member, you will have access to that deal. And it breaks out to like, I'm not allowed to give the exact number yet because I got to talk it over to Anthony, but it's going to be under $1 a day. You know what I mean? So, I mean, just that alone to have yourself locked in for next year is worth its weight in gold. So come check us out, themadlabmma.com, $14.99 for all that. And then hopefully you stay.
Awesome stuff, man. You guys know where to find
also, we're going to be hitting a lot of futures in the month of December is when I'm going to be putting all my futures out, like, you know, who's going to be a future champion in what division and stuff like that. So, you know, you'll be getting all that too.
Fantastic. And yeah, during the off weeks, I'll be doing some of that analysis as well. Again, I do my prospect list with, again, another thing that aged well. I got prospects lists, Southpaw reports, plenty of other things that I'm going to try to get some numbers to throw for our last show next week, Mike, just for fun. I know, again, I do terrible on the betting and nobody gives a shit, but you know, again, I actually put some impressive numbers out outside of the betting that I actually want to share with you guys that we've been sharing here on this show for whatever that's worth. And again, not just a prospect list, but I also do awards like under the radar, and I don't do that popularity contest bullshit that most media outlets do. I actually like give it to the right people, like Steve Garcia. Is there a better way to name Steve Garcia than an under the radar fighter? I gave that out in January. That's aged pretty well, just like most of the things. So I just want to say that. But yeah, let's go and give, hopefully what will age well will be our picks for the show. That's what matters, folks. We got the Benji Boy Dog of the Week. If Dayton's going to get ready to cue that up, we landed on Nazim Sadykhov, baby. I got 1 unit on him. He's at plus 113 right now. So you can actually get him at a little bit of a better number if you like that side of the equation. And as far as our best bet goes, and we'll go to Dayton's Dog of the Week right after that, Dayton. So I'm really curious on that. But as far as our best bet goes, I feel like Pantoja inside the distance, you know, another, you know, Saryukin inside the distance got it through last time. Let's go Pantoja plus 100. You can still get some plus money, some decent line entries, maybe a little bit better number than that, depending on where you look, folks. So shop around, but that'll be the best bet of this week. So we're going to hope for it to go 2-0. Dayton, what is your dog of the week this week? Makes me nervous. I hate going against Dayton.
Yeah, so I gave you.
I know what it is. He didn't tell me Dayton.
All right, then no. Well, no, it's not her because the hot ones fucking the favorite. So no, it's not. But anyways,
well,
I told
Silva's got a great body.
Yeah, but the face, bro. That's all I'm seeing.
Well, Maycee Barber looks like she was spacked with a fucking roll of provolone.
Yeah, but when I'm sitting here in the morning doing the graphics, all I'm seeing is the face card, and I'm like, no. But anyways, I told Dan 2 people, and I was either Brandon Moreno or Bogdan Guskov because he looks like an alien. But no, I had to go Moreno.
My man.
Nice. Moreno. All right. Bro. All right. I love it. Bro, nice.
Bro, he looks like he just woke up and they fucking took his coffee away from him for a month.
Yeah.
Got tired of looking at that picture, dude.
It does, man. That's awesome, man. I think that's good juju because we both are like Moreno, possibly will be on Moreno. And I think Moreno will be one of the legs I pitch for the cycle. But before we put the cycle together, Mike, let's get another head-to-head. Which should we go head to head on for this week? Should we go Blachowicz Guskov? Should we go?
Well, we don't have many.
Blachowicz,
right?
No, yeah, actually, between Blachowicz Guskov, Yan Merab, or
let's go Yan Merab. Let's go to the main event. You gotta go to the main event. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh my gosh. All right. I better vote Petr Yan wins this time, baby. Let's do it head to head. I got Petr Yan. You got Merab Dvalishvili. I deserve extra credit if I win this head to head.
Listen, if here's the deal, if Yan wins, that's considered 2 wins for you.
You don't have to do that. Just give me a nice compliment. And I'll be happy. Just placate to the ego. I'll be happy. You know. All right. Now let's cook together a cycle for the folks here. I rarely do cycles, and I don't do them every card, and I especially rarely do 2. The last 2 times I did 2 cycles, Mike, including the last event, I went 2 out of 3 on each of them, bro. It's insane.
Yeah,
that's why maddening accuracy. So
are hard to hit, dude.
Well, we got Mike in the mix now. I bring that up to say that we'll have extra chances of hitting that. We'll have his mind in it. So I cooked one that was about 30-1, but I'm having trouble remembering it, Mike. Okay. So for the sub leg, I feel like we'd agree on Pantoja. I feel like it's the best leg for that, even though it's not too crazy, plus 125. Now I have two other legs plugged in here, a plus 375 and a plus 185. I think the plus 185 is Moreno by decision because I'm pretty sure he was my decision leg there. What do you think of those two legs first off before we even
I would like I would say Vettori as a decision would
be probably what's that number for his decision?
Vettori by decision is well, right now with Pantoja by submission, Vettori by decision, we're sitting at plus 475 without getting a knockout.
What's the number though? Because it's down to 175. It probably was 185 because now it's down to plus 175 for Moreno by decision. What's Vettori by decision?
It is plus 130 for Vettori by decision.
Wow, you're getting low numbers. I'm seeing plus 165 to plus 175, but that's only on 3 different books. Let's go with Vettori though, because that means we could possibly get him for the same as Moreno. You like that better?
What's that?
If you like that better, I'm willing to go with Vettori.
I like the Vettori by decision because I can see somebody getting finished in a Taira fight. I really could.
Sure. And for the knockout, I can't remember that. I feel like that's the hardest one for this card. I can't remember who I picked with that plus 375 is for the life of me. So who the hell are we going to pick for our knockout?
What about Chris Duncan?
That might have been who I picked, actually, to be honest. That's who I'm going to look at now. If that's around plus 375, that was probably my top pick for it. No, it's actually plus 170, plus 180. Where the hell was that plus 375 I was looking at? Oh, but you know what it might have been?
What?
It might have been the 375 might have been something cheeky. Well, I'll probably throw my round robin, which is Taira Moreno ends in split decision. That's going to be a bet that I'm going to be looking for.
Oh, okay.
That was probably it. But yeah.
Well, sorry. If we go this route, Pantoja by decision, Vettori by decision, Duncan by KO, it's plus 1337.
That's pretty decent, man. That's pretty decent. Unless, I know who it was by KO, Sadykhov.
Oh yeah, that's.
I know. Ziam technically is not lost by KO, but that's why you're getting a crazy number on it, and that's the way he wins. And he could submit him too. I think he's got good enough ground to not get submitted and keep it a striking fight, though. And so, I feel like he could get the finish there. That's the only one I'll throw out there because Duncan can also get. I feel like Duncan has more of a chance of getting a sub than Sadykhov does with his guillotines and the way McKinney can capitulate. If he's on the ground.
All right, well, you call it. I'll let you call the last one since I got Vettori by decision. You call the last one. You call the knockout.
Let's go Sadykhov by knockout, Vettori decision, and Pantoja sub.
Okay, so we're going to go Sadykhov by knockout.
It might not happen, Mike, but all 3 of those guys are going to swim in that direction.
All right, so now we're up to plus 2315.
That's much better.
Pantoja by sub, Vettori by decision, Sadykhov by KO is plus 2315.
Woo! All
right,
folks. All right. We went a little over the 130, so they might have missed that cooking. Hopefully they know where to find us. I know Mad Lab plug where you can find them. You can find all my stuff, of course, at Dan Tom MMA on Substack. We're going to recap from top to bottom and then get out of here. You can, of course, find Mad Lab MMA Mike at Mad Lab MMA on socials, the madlabmma.com to get his
Go to the site and sign up, will you?
Yeah, that's where you want to go. Go to the site. Don't go to the socials. Go to his site. All right, starting from the top, we are head-to-head. Mike's on Dvalishvili, the smart pick. I'm taking the flower and the dog there. And Petr Yan. We are both on Pantoja, who is our best bet inside the distance. I got Pantoja. By the way, I'm also on Petr Yan, plus 195 points handicap, and I put a unit on his money line, so hopefully he can at least cover the points handicap and cover us there. We are both taking Moreno, and that's also Dayton's dog of the week. I'm going to be looking at split decision props for that round robin, and I'm going to be looking at Moreno live personally. Don't blame anybody playing him pre-flop. Henry Cejudo is a dog that Mike will be taking. I'm on the other side in Talbott, but I'm not really going to be touching that fight probably for whatever that's worth. I'm taking Blachowicz. Mike is on Guskov, another head-to-head there. I'm not, super confident despite being on the favorite again. We're both on the favorite in Grant Dawson, one of our favorite favorites, opposite Manuel Torres. I took Grant Dawson, by the way, in round 2 plus 500.63 U, round 3 plus 950.37 U. I also took Duncan, and we're both on Duncan over McKinney, but I fired on Duncan at minus 155, 1.55 units. Also took Duncan on round 2 plus 650.33 U with Scottie Pippen there. Round 3 plus 1600 if it gets there. Why not throw a 0.17 U on it? I did. We're both taking Karine Silva, I believe, but it's kind of a pass. We're not really too confident in that fight for sure, but we are taking Nazim Sadykhov as our Benji boy dog of the week. I threw a unit on him over Farés Ziam, and we got him by KO in the cycle. Also in the cycle is Marvin Vettori by decision, who we both picked over Bruno Fajeda. We also, I believe, both picked Jalen Turner, but it's just like a pass or pass fight, it feels like. We both picked Baraniewski over Aslan, not confident there, pass. Obviously, we picked Abdul-Malik over Tricoli, but, you know, what are you going to do with that line? And we both picked Myron Santos over Naimov, whom neither of us, I can confidently say, are in a rush to bet that fight. Mike, anything we left out before we go?
No, but I want to answer Sean Overtime. He said something, make it cheaper, too much, bro, 500. If you're talking about the prices, my brother, you didn't pay attention then, because the ad is $14.99, $14.99. That's less than $2 a day for the whole week. You get MMA, you get boxing, you get football, you get NCAA football. And if you stay a member, then you're actually a member, and you're going to be getting sent the promo if you're still active when the promo goes out, which is the most ridiculous promo we're sending out. So that $4.99 that you're looking at would be completely null and void to you. You'd be paying less than $1 a day flipping on the new year. So when you go to this site, the banner's there. Just click on the banner. It's going to take you to the $14.99 promo. Not to you're probably going through the price list and you're seeing the year subscription. Go to the banner on the front of the site, click on it, it'll take you right there.
Yeah, there's folks with like 20% of Mike's knowledge who are charging like 200% of what he charges. So just
it's crazy, bro.
Alone,
some of these people, it's crazy. And then, bro, and they're a Discord site. They literally just give like picks on Discord. I give 15,000 words a week, fight brain technology, audio breakdowns, DFS, wagering, football, basketball. Like, you get everything.
And post reports, so accountability reports as well, which not a lot of people do. But yeah, shouts to you there, Mike. Hopefully we can all do well and whatnot. And again, one more show for the holidays, folks. Hopefully you guys had a good holidays for those celebrating. And again, you're just checking in on people being good and just doing your part out there. Hopefully we were able to give you some entertainment, some analysis, and, you know, some winners as well. We'll see. Good luck on your picks and plays, and always protect your neck.